Rodham, didn't I?
Rodham. It's all right. So, doesn't matter.
True. Okay.
Many people don't know her name.
I didn't know her name. Class. Me too.
So, they just think of her as Mrs. Clinton, and that's not an accurate. She never changed her name.
I should change my name. That'd be a very long middle name, though.
But are you going to take his name?
Once I get a boyfriend and we get engaged and married, we'll see.
Well, slaves did take their masters' names, didn't they? So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Who was the most influential female in your life?
Most influential, yeah. I don't have women in front of me that I could look to, so I look to the books, and the ones that I just adore. Eleanor Roosevelt, truly the first lady of the world, truly. She had everybody's rights in mind, and brilliant, brilliant woman. I respect the intelligence. And I think that you've heard me say with these couple of women, the intelligence. And then Simone de Beauvoir, who helped establish existentialism and spoke about other, and spoke about how it is not reciprocated with women, that it is our play, and we are the directors, and we are the star. And she very eloquently in The Second Sex brought that up. And those are the women those two stand out specifically.
If you could have dinner with any of the early feminists, who would it be and why?
Alice Paul, Simone de Beauvoir, and Eleanor Roosevelt. And why? Because of their intelligence, because of their ability to be future seers. To me, and Gloria Steinem. And they are, everything they say just makes sense. And they happen to agree with me. So I always look for people to agree with me. But they are brilliant, brilliant women. And that's when I think it would just be a fascinating conversation. Wouldn't it?
What do you think of the current feminist movement and the younger generation that has to step up and get involved?
I think that the current feminist movement is very sad. I think it's going backwards. I don't think that the young girls understand. The young girls are young girls and boys, because I'm hearing reports of sexism coming at very, very, very young ages. I hear it. My little brother's 4 years old, and he said, "You can't do that because that's a girl thing." I see the young women that are coming back to college to get their MRS degree, as they did before. People in the 80s, like Jennifer Granholm, before she was going to school. It's like they knew why they were going to school. They knew that what the women's liberation was all about. And now it's gone backwards, and more and more women are going to find a husband and quit. And with Leslie Bennett's Feminine Mistake, it horrifies me that all of these women are not getting into the women's movement until after they get divorced or after some tragedy in life happens, and they do everything right, and then their husband leaves them. So and what they're doing is they're depending totally on his salary, and they're not following their own dreams. And I just think what a tragedy that we have lost so much from the potential of the young women that are sitting in front of me. Or not sitting in front of me, I guess that would be better said.
What aspects of feminism have affected you most?
The aspects of feminism that has affected me the most. I always was a feminist in the sense of being a humanist, of being something that I thought that all people should have equal rights. I think that I was naive in thinking that it already existed. The aspect of feminism that I think was the recognition about how language changes who we are, and the use of mankind, and thinking that the philosophers were talking about me, and they weren't. Thinking the religion was talking about me, and they weren't. So that realization, I think, is what has happened to me. Being a philosopher, being somebody who's always known what the ancients have thought, and thinking that it was meant for me, and having to go into women's spirituality and understanding that these people were sexist, and very, very much sexist. And they have great philosophies, but it really doesn't quite apply to me as a woman. And that's very inhibiting.
What is one of the biggest challenges that women face that keeps them from being proactive in the women's movement?
Understanding that they are their own authority. Understanding that the answers are inside of them. Understanding that they're good enough. They're not just good enough. They can be anything they want without restrictions of gender. You know, things, oh, well, I should be acting like this. Every woman that comes into my office as a therapist, it's all about their gender roles. It's all about why they're not doing this woman thing right. And if they knew who they were and they knew where they could go, there'd be no stopping them.
We have gone so far. What is left to do?
There's a lot left to do. We have to attack the thoughts in our own heads. We have to understand and be aware of the restrictions we put on ourselves. We have to name ourselves, our world, and our God. We're not doing that. We're thinking that in order to get ahead, we have to follow this. In order to be happy, I have to have a husband and children and two and a half kids, two cars in the garage. And that might not be my dream. But if I'm going to do this woman thing right, that would be my dream. And then I'd be standing in the shower not knowing why I was crying. You know, because I didn't explore enough of myself. I didn't name my whole existence. I think it's exciting to move to our dreams, because they were placed on our hearts for a reason, and we were all different for a reason, and because we're not supposed to be the same. We're all here for a special reason. And when we start breaking through these gender roles, and specifically homophobia, because that holds us all in place. That holds the heterosexuals as well as the homosexuals in place, because it tells us that you can't be outspoken if you're a woman. You can't cry if you're